Hey guys, Robbie here from the Big Red Express. Hope you guys are doing great. I'm doing great. Just got back from Florida for the freaking CrossFit Throwdown. What an event that was. It was a 2-day event, 6 workouts. If you are in the South Florida area next year in April, I beg you, make sure you guys are there. It was so much fun. Grab a couple of your friends. If you got a co-ed division, grab 3 of your friends, another guy, another girl, whatever. It was such a fun event to be down there. Was able to catch up with Alan Duarte of the Freaking Fit podcast. Make sure you guys go check his podcast out right now on iTunes or on Apple iTunes, wherever you get your podcast. I'm pretty sure they're pretty much everywhere, just like we are. But I was able to discuss and chat with him. We talked a little bit of WWE. We talked a little bit of everything, kind of told him how I got into things and, the different opportunities. We talk about regionals and so much more. Make sure you guys go check out the Freaking Fit podcast. We were a guest on that podcast this past week. Huge shout out to Alan. So make sure you guys go check out that podcast right now. Guys, as well, we are doing some big things. Today's interview comes from a regional athlete, a 2-time regional athlete going back for his 3rd year and trying to qualify for the first time for the CrossFit Games. Connor Duddy, before I went down to Florida, was able to catch up with him last Thursday, so a week ago. And it was so much fun to get to know him. I'd only met him a couple times. I know he was at RU Fit a couple of years ago. But, man, what an opportunity it was to sit down with him. For the guy that beat Ben Smith in the CrossFit Open in the Mid-Atlantic region for the first time. And, man, it seems like forever. So this is going to be an opportunity for you guys to sit down, get to know Connor Duddy a little bit, and get to, know the man that's the top of the leaderboard in the Mid-Atlantic, and a guy that I think is going to cause some big waves come regionals in just about a month or two. It is crazy that regionals are really on the horizon, and we just got done the Open not too long ago. The online qualifiers coming up this weekend, so huge shout out and huge good luck to all our former guests. Just really this past couple of weeks, guys, we had the Big Red Express and CrossFit Krypton week. They have been big supporters, so good luck to Lindsay, to Mel, to Sarah, to Mike, and to Dave Jones, all those athletes going up on the online qualifier that's happening this weekend. So excited to see how that goes. We'll be tracking that along the way. And of course, we will give you updates once we know how they have done and how they placed and see who is punching their ticket to the CrossFit Games. But guys, before we get into our interview, just got to get some business out of the way. Make sure you guys go head on over to Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe to our podcast. It helps us so much. I can't tell you how much it helps us that you go and you subscribe to our podcast. You just kind of help us out in that way. It really does make all the difference when we are trying to reach out to people and trying to make a little bit of money on the backside. It's really not about the money in terms of, sponsorship for the podcast, but it's nice to have kind of people looking at it, and it gets more love to our podcast so more and more people can actually listen to our podcast. Got some great interviews and great conversations coming up in the future. And you know what, guys? I want this to be family friendly, and I want this to be something that you guys love and be a podcast that we can both interact on. We're going to be talking about some regional stuff coming up in a little bit. But you know what? For the most part, guys, I want you guys to have a podcast that you guys can sit down on the way to work, on your lunch break, wherever, and just kind of not think about anything. Just let me take away your worries and enjoy the conversation. We are actually going to be putting a special episode together, kind of recapping my trip down in Florida. So I'll be talking all about the freaking CrossFit Throwdown. I'll be talking about my trip to the Miami Marlins game, some stories that I've got from the weekend, a short weekend, but a very fun weekend down in Pembroke Pines, Florida. So that's going to be coming out next week, guys. It's going to be a fun show. Like I said, got some great interviews coming up. Exclusively here on the Big Red Express, so you will not want to miss that. Make sure you guys go to all of our social medias, click that follow button, click that like button, and of course on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you go, click that subscribe button and help us out. Leave us a 5-star review and a rating for your troubles. It'll take less than 30 seconds, I promise, and it helps us out so much. But of course, talking about who helps out the podcast, other than you guys, the listeners, we got to give a huge shout out to Burrito Perdido. They have been one of our sponsors since the very, very beginning. Almost 3 years they have been our podcast sponsor. And, man, we have loved them. We love their food. First off, if you've never been to Burrito Perdido in Chesapeake, Virginia, located on Cedar Road in that Sunoco gas station, oh, my gosh, what in the world are you doing? I mean, I'm probably going to go there today, so you may see me today. You may see me there tomorrow. You may see me there this weekend a couple of times, but you won't see me there on Mondays because they are closed on Mondays. That's right. They are open from Tuesdays to Sundays from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. So make sure you guys go get in. Go get your burrito, your chimichanga, your tacos, whatever you like. They've probably got it. Go check them out on social media as well. Guys, that's enough of me flapping my gums. I know you guys are ready to hear my conversation with Connor Duddy exclusively here on the Big Red Express. Enjoy. Hey guys, welcome back to the Big Red Express. I'm joined now by the man who dominated the CrossFit Open in the Mid-Atlantic region, Connor Duddy. First off, Connor, congratulations on a very, very successable Open season.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
How are you feeling after the Open? I mean, obviously it's been a couple of weeks since the Open finished up, and you know, what were your thoughts on the CrossFit Open this year?
This was my favorite Open so far, and it was definitely the less stressful out of all my Opens yet, and I'm feeling good. It's always good when you get the invite and all that whole process is over with,
right,
and you're just ready to get into training.
Now, going into this Open, obviously you've had regional experience, you've had a lot of big experience at big competitions and things like that. 2 years ago, you were in the East Division,
right,
moved down to the Atlantic Division. You increased your placing at the regional level. Talk to us about kind of switching regions, going from a very competitive region with the East region, and, you know, you're competing against guys such as, you know, Matt Frazier, Spencer Hendel, Austin Malio, you know, the list goes on and then you're switching to a region with, you know, tough guys as well, like Noah Olson, Ben Smith, Alec, you know, Dane. Like, talk to us about kind of that change from that first year to that second year going into regionals.
Yeah, so you're gonna see competitive regions everywhere. There's good guys in every region. So the biggest change from year one to year two was just the experience, having that year under my belt and doing relatively well that first year gave me some confidence to kind of push the envelope in second year. So I'm hoping to just kind of bounce off of two good performances and hopefully get a little better this year.
Is there anything you did this year? Obviously, you placed first in the Mid-Atlantic, a region, you know, that even though we have our biases here, CrossFit Krypton has been dominated by Ben Smith. You were able to kind of squeak by him in the CrossFit Open this year. How has it been, you know, how often were you checking the leaderboard to see where you were, just see how competitive you were? You finished 26th worldwide in the Open. So are you one of those athletes that's constantly looking at the leaderboard every single week to see where you're placed, or you just kind of just go with the flow and whatever happens, happens?
No, this year I didn't really leaderboard. I did all the workouts once. Actually, I redid the first workout, but after that, I only did them once, and I had been actually rehabbing a shoulder injury for the whole year. So my goal going into the Open was stay healthy and do as well as I could.
Right.
While I was trying to stay healthy. The programming kind of laid out in the way that it did. It allowed me to kind of give my shoulder some more time. Pull-ups didn't show up to the last week. There was no heavy snatches, so it kind of worked out in my favor in that sense. And having a little bit less expectations and just having that goal of staying healthy honestly paid off a little bit more than putting some pressure on myself.
Did you do anything, you know, other than staying healthy? Were you training less? Were you training more? Were you just kind of focusing on other things other than kind of shoulder heavy stuff? Or kind of how did the training look leading into the Open, trying to keep yourself healthy?
Yeah, so, I mean, after regionals last year, I knew I had to take a step back, and I started working with a PT to just focus on rehab.
Right.
And then I really pushed the envelope where I could. Cleans never bothered my shoulder, so I worked on a lot of cleans. I worked on a lot of deadlifts. Got lucky in the sense that the one rep max clean showed up and the deadlift showed up. And then as we got closer to the Open, I started to push the envelope on my shoulder a little bit, but I feel like I still held back slightly just to be safe. But I'm feeling good now, and I'm ready to kind of push a little bit harder.
Now, a lot of people, they train for the Open. Obviously, there's different styles when you're training for the Open than when you're training for regionals. It can be really almost two completely different stages of training. What do you not to give any secrets away to anyone else out there, but what are you doing differently now that you weren't doing maybe during the Open training?
Not too much. The Open always has high rep stuff,
right?
Lightweight. So for
a
me,
lot like those AMRAPs kind of just go.
Yeah, so I had to make sure that my shoulder could handle that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now as we're moving towards regionals, I'm going to see if I can push the percentages on my lifts, see if I can kind of get my snatch back to where it was and still feel healthy. But then still rowing, still running, still biking, still doing everything else. Maybe have add in a little bit extra in just to push the volume up a little bit.
Right.
But still doing CrossFit.
Did you have a favorite workout in the Open? I know a lot of people, you're always going to have those people that weren't really okay with the program, or they thought the program was stupid, and there's going to be so many people out there, but everyone's got that one workout in the Open that's kind of their wheelhouse. Did you have that one workout that you just saw it and you were just like, oh my gosh, I'm going to destroy this workout?
I liked all of them.
Okay,
yeah. I 18-2 was probably the most fun.
Okay.
Doing the clean was fun.
Right.
And that first little piece was a good burner, but once you got past that, then
right.
you just got to lift some heavy weights.
For sure.
But no, I mean, they were all really good tests. I thought the Open was well programmed, and I mean, Dave Casher always does a good job. I
right.
never have complaints about his programming.
And when you look at it, and looking at kind of last year with regionals, there was no barbell in sight. Are you hoping for that again this year? Do you hope to see a barbell? Do you hope to see that kind of max lift that we haven't seen in a couple of years?
Yeah, I've never done a max lift on a big stage. I feel like that would be cool.
Yeah, because a couple of years ago they had that snatch. Was it the clean ladder?
Yeah, the
going into like
ups
right. Yeah, it was like
the
that was
clean 2015, I believe.
Right. Yeah,
cool. I'd love to do something like that
for sure.
Yeah, something like that again. Maybe lift heavy on the big stage would be fun.
Definitely.
But no, I enjoyed the workouts last year as well. I thought they did a really good job not putting a barbell in.
Right.
It was well programmed even without the barbell.
When you look at yourself, are you more of a barbell specialist, or do you like the body weight kind of stuff?
No, I like the body weight.
You like the body weight kind of stuff, so
yeah.
You were all about that,
The first workout last
right,
year, the handstand push-ups and the weight vest. Yeah, I like that kind of stuff.
Now, looking back at the past 2 years, obviously that first year, just getting the regional stage underneath your belt, kind of, getting in that, competing against some of the fittest athletes on planet Earth. Then last year, what's your mindset going in this year? Obviously, it's to qualify for the CrossFit Games. That's the number one goal. You've got the best finish that you've had in the past 5 or 6 years in the CrossFit Open. Talk to us about your mindset going into regionals this year compared to the past two.
This year, I'm definitely more confident in my abilities. I know I can hang at the top.
Yeah.
The first year at regionals, I had no idea where I would finish. Second year, I had a general idea, but I still didn't really believe that I could qualify. This year, I know it's a possibility. I got to work hard. I know I got to earn it, but I know I'm capable of it.
Those past 2 years at regionals, you've done well in those first couple events. In those last couple events, it's almost like that, on that Saturday, that day two is just, almost like, and I was noticing, I was looking back at your stats, and I was like, well, last year he had like a top, almost like a top 6, top 7 finish in both first and second workouts, then 2 17th place finishes, and then, pretty good top 10 finishes in the last two. What do you think, happens in the going from day 1 to day 2 to day 3, kind of that mindset? Is it almost like, oh, day 2, okay, I got one day underneath my belt, I can kind of relax a little bit, and then day 3 is just kind of like, okay, I got to go because I'm fighting for my life in this one?
I don't know if it was the position I was sitting in. I feel like it was more the way the programming laid out,
right,
where they placed the workouts. Just my strengths were on the ends, and my weaknesses fell in the middle of the weekend. But I'm hoping to kind of level out this year.
Right.
I always try not to look at the leaderboard too much. So,
yeah.
So
just kind of a lot of people do that. A lot of people you get those people that are they're going to look at the leaderboard literally every chance that they get. But then you're going to get those people that are just like, you know what? I'm just going to go out there and do my best, let the chips fall where they may. when you look at that, and a lot of the CrossFit mindset is very mental. You got to have a very strong mind, because as much as you got to be in condition, you got to be in very good shape, you also can't let one workout get you down and throw you off. How do you train yourself mentally to be just as fit mentally in the mind than you are, physically?
You just have to take it one step at a time. Once the event's over, it's over. You can't change what happened.
Right.
So you just got to kind of game plan for what's going to come up next. It's easier said than done, for
right.
sure. I'm still working on it, but yeah, I just try to take it one step at a time and not let the whole weekend overwhelm me.
We're talking to Connor Duddy, one of the top qualifiers going into the Atlantic Regional. Connor, you have competed at Wodapalooza. You've competed at other big events. Talk to us about that atmosphere and how it gets you ready for events on the big stage like a regionals.
Wodapalooza was fun. That's like a vacation.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool to work out in Miami by the water.
Right. Especially in the middle of winter, right?
Right, yeah. And there's some big names there, so it does get you ready for having a lot of eyes on you while you're working out. But it's always a different feel in that the workouts are programmed differently.
For sure.
So, I mean, it's just vacation. So I try not to compare my performances in one event versus the other.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think it also gets you ready, like you said, to getting all those eyes on you. Because, I mean, at regionals, not only are, thousands of people watching you while you perform, but, thousands and thousands are watching you on the stream. And there's a big audience. When you look at that and you look at, seeing your name in the top 10 with some of the greatest of all time in the sport, how does that make you feel? And when you did it for the first time back a couple of years ago, how was that experience lining up next to a Matt Frazier and those type of names that you've probably grown up watching, go to the games and perform extremely well?
Yeah, I remember the first time in 2016, it was my first year at regionals. The first event was a snatch ladder, and I remember walking out for it. And in Albany, it's this big stadium. It's an arena. And so the stands are really high, up all just kind of surrounding you, and that was nerve-wracking. I remember just getting kind of a rush of nerves. And the second year, it was a little better. I walked out with a little more confidence, but I still I don't like being the center of attention, so having those eyes on me is tough. But I'm hoping year 3 I'll be a little more used to it, so I can kind of perform under that scenario.
Talk to us how you got into CrossFit. Everyone's got a different story. How did CrossFit land on your front porch, essentially?
I was in high school. I was getting ready for – I rode in high school, so
okay.
I was getting ready for the spring season. I had a friend who started it and just told me I should come try it out. And
go ahead.
Went to their prep course and then just started taking classes there. When I went away to school – I wasn't playing a sport anymore, and I still needed something, so
for sure
I stuck with CrossFit throughout.
Now, obviously, rowing it pops up all the time in CrossFit. Is that something that you kind of, when you saw it at the games, maybe like I think it was 5 years ago, when they had that half marathon?
Yeah.
Have you ever done a half marathon row before?
No, I haven't. It was high school. It wasn't very serious.
Right.
We were just kind of having fun on the water.
Okay.
So I had some experience on the erg, but I wouldn't consider myself a better rower because I have that experience.
Right.
It was just something I did for fun.
Sweet. Yeah. See, I did a half marathon row. Man, I think it was a while ago, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, but it was the worst thing. I would not suggest it. Unless it's at the CrossFit Games, that's the only.
I'll do it if they throw it at me.
Right, yeah. Oh, my gosh. I can't imagine. And I remember talking to Ben afterwards after he did that. He was like, my butt's just really sore.
Sitting down for
he was just like, you're sitting down for like an hour and a half, and you're just like, oh, my gosh, why am I still here?
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's cool when you get to know other athletes. What has been like a moment where you've been like, oh, my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing this. Like, I can't believe I'm a CrossFit athlete. I get to go to these cool places like Wodapalooza, and, obviously regionals is in West Palm Beach this year. You're going back down to Florida in not too long. I mean, obviously regionals is going to be here before you know it. What's been kind of the coolest thing for you as a CrossFitter to be a part of?
I think just traveling around and meeting different people. This is my first time at Krypton.
Yeah.
So just like going to different gyms and meeting people in the area is the fun part, getting to work out with different crews. Because for most of the year, I'm just at home with my community there. So when I get to branch out, that's when it kind of hits me that we're all part of the same cult.
Right. Oh, definitely. Yeah. And I think that's something that CrossFit is so well known for. Like, yeah, it is called a quote unquote cult but it's more like a community. It's more like a family. You know what I mean? Like,
I was kidding.
No, I know you were. No, but I think a lot of people say that. But yes, it does have cult tendencies. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I've never been a part of a cult, so I don't know the exact, what a cult exactly is. But there's a reason why it's like a tight knit. No matter where you go, like you said, first time you've been here, but I'm sure you just walked. Literally, we just walked in the door like the same time, guys, and he was greeted by Alec and Kelly and things like that. But it's such a cool atmosphere, I think, and for an athlete like yourself, can just kind of go into anywhere and just feel welcome.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely grateful for all the experiences and everything the community's provided for me.
All right, last couple of questions. We're talking to Connor Duddy to finish up, kind of like a speed round. Favorite Olympic lift?
Snatch.
Favorite CrossFit movement that is not with the barbell?
Ring muscle ups.
Favorite CrossFit movement with a barbell?
Thrusters.
Do you have a favorite girl workout? Amanda. Do you have – okay. That's good. Man, those were quick. All right. When you're not at the gym training, what are you doing for fun? What do you like to do?
So living in Charlottesville, I don't get the opportunity as often, but I love to surf.
Okay.
I grew up on Long Island. So
nice.
Grew up surfing. Not big waves. It's East
Coast.
Not
too much here at Virginia Beach either. But
whenever I get the opportunity, I love to get to the ocean.
Awesome. I bet you were still wishing they had the games in California, so you could go out there and maybe get there like a week before, go some surfing before, or afterwards. Maybe not before. You don't want to get hurt
after.
Before. But I don't think you're going to see too many waves in Madison.
No,
but
that's all right.
You never know. Dave Castro may make like a wave pool coming up. It would not surprise me. Would not surprise me at all.
Down.
Over the past 2 years that you've been at regionals, throughout the Open, it's a lot to go back in the memory tank for. What has been your favorite event that's been programmed over the past 2 years at regionals or the Open?
I might have to say regional Nate.
Okay.
That one was really fun. The strict muscle ups, strict handstand push-ups.
Yeah.
And then the Open, that's a tough one. I don't know.
There's
too many to pick from.
Right.
Maybe the clean ladder with the toes of bar.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people like that one.
Yeah.
Looking back and looking forward, you're obviously very young in the sport of CrossFit. You've still got a lot more years left. How do you keep yourself healthy? With whether it's a lot of people out there, their diet's a big thing for them. Their training is a big thing for them. How do you kind of keep your body in full tip-top shape, because you have to be at the top of your game every time you step out for every single event?
So this year it's really been focusing on those shoulder warm-ups and that prehab. And then outside the gym, sleep. Make sure I sleep more than 8 hours a night. And then I'd never been really strict on my diet, but I definitely cleaned it up this year. I don't eat dessert every night anymore, so I try to keep it as clean as possible. I'm not super strict. I'll cheat once a week, but those two things, sleep and then clean up my diet a little bit and make sure I get a good warm-up in.
What's the ultimate cheat for you during the week?
A burger and a milkshake.
A burger from anywhere specific? Or
we got a Zinn Burger in Charlottesville.
Okay.
I like to go to. I would go to that after an open workout.
Nice.
That was kind of the tradition.
And if people want to follow you, kind of get in touch with you, whatever, how can they figure out who you are?
My Instagram is just Connor Duddy, and then I don't have a Facebook or I don't have a big Facebook presence, so just Instagram.
Sweet.
Yeah.
We'll make sure to post that in the description below, guys. Connor, thanks so much for chatting with us. Have fun at Krypton while you're in town, and we'll talk to you down the road.
Thanks for having me.